Now we are officially in the F1 off-season, which means it's time for Assetto Corsa to do its thing and give us some experimental content. And today we are driving a brand new F1 2026 mod that's free and that actually slipped through the cracks. A mod that didn't release recently, even though it's new to me, actually released a while back, I think earlier this year, but I never actually covered it. And I think it's relevant now for one main reason. Out of all the mods out there, so far I've covered 2 in past videos. If you want to go see them, I'll leave them on screen now. This is the 3rd car we're going to cover, and this one, to me, looks the most accurate out of all of them, based off the latest kind of, designs, because as we know, the Race Sim Studio car is by far the best 26 mod on the market, and it's probably better than this car, but visually, it's not quite anything like the latest renders we're getting in regards to the 26 cars, whereas this one, in terms of handling and physics, isn't probably the best. Visually, it looks very close to what we're getting in the latest renders. Now, this mod is free, so if you guys have Assetto Corsa, you guys can try this mod for yourself. It's not new, it released earlier this year, so there is that to factor in, but I'm keen to see how this works. Now, this is the Formula Ultra 26 or 2026, made by QVS Designs and Deploy. Deploy, of course, someone that you guys may know from other mods on the channel regarding Assetto Corsa. But I want to just do a little test lap here and see how this goes. Now, we're going to go into low on the MGUK delivery and do a little sampler, a little test lap, and just kind of get an understanding of where we're at with this car. So, through turn 1, so far so good. Turn 2 also pretty good. Downforce feels fine. We're not particularly quick in the straights right now. So far, no mod has really been able to recreate the X-Wings the way they're going to be using those next season with the active aero, because to my knowledge, you can use the active aero everywhere throughout the lap next year. A bit like how DRS used to be back in 2011 in qualifying, where you'd basically be brave and open it as often as possible. Now, the big thing next year is going to be the manual override mode, MUM as they call it. The basically push to pass F1 is going to install to help overtaking. F1 next year also changes from what is a currently 80-20 split, 80 being combustion and 20 being hybrid, to apparently a 50-50, which I think is tricky, but could happen. The engineers are pretty clever. For this car, so far, honestly, I feel like I'm a little bit slow. Feels like I'm driving an underpowered, just slow car. Feels fairly stable, but this is fairly intuitive. Now, the 26 cars are going to have a bit less downforce. Of course, we're abandoning ground effect and we're reverting to more traditional over-the-car aerodynamics. So we got our first lap in, and it's a 1 minute 34.5. So that's a bank up. I'm going to go back to the pit lane and we're going to push this a little bit. So we do have the gear sets. The general reaches 344 on the straight, the quick shift 313. Now, these cars are supposedly going to hit up to 400 kilometers an hour next year, supposedly, in rare occasions where you're using the active aero and the push to pass and basically all the tools that these cars will have. I'm going to stick with general for now, and we're going to try and hopefully improve. Now, we're going to go down to some soft tyres, which is going to be the C4 compound. Also, for the fuel, we're going to start to work our way down. The fuel tanks next year are going to be smaller as well. We're going to run a higher power mode. We're going to go for push, and recovery will leave on 50. Engine brake is fine on 7. Now, the wings are interesting. This car felt pretty decent on that lap. I will go 3 on the rear and 4 on the front. I'll go down a bit. I feel like I had decent downforce there. We won't change too much more except for a click on the bias, and then on the suspensions, we'll drop the ride height. It goes down in increments of 10, which is quite a lot. So we'll go down significantly on the rear. So 20 front, 20 rear approx. And yeah, I think this will do. We're just going to try and get a decent time. Now, of course, with these cars, there's still a lot of things we don't know. No one really knows how they're going to sound. That's a big thing. So you can't really assess if the sounds are good or not. Like, I don't particularly find these sounds super impressive, but they may well end up being quite accurate because, you know, we're removing the MGUH next year. The V6 is going to be simplified basically, and more battery is going to be used, more hybrid power, so that could change the sounds of the V6 a little bit, and that's going to be quite interesting. So there are a lot of unknowns still. And what I want to do is just try and get a hot lap here, and then we might try a little race and try the 3 different cars we've driven so far and see how they all fare. Either way, we're just on this out lap. I'm currently getting the car prepared and getting the tyres up to temp, and we're going to jump in and see what we can do. So we're going to head up to the push mode on the battery as we head to the last corner. Let's see if there's any noticeable difference in terms of the straight line speed. Oh yeah, I can feel that. Way more kick. We're using the battery so much quicker now. Easy does it through 1. Turn 2 and turn 3 are flat. Yes, they are. 3 was a little bit wide, but we're good. We've already used all the battery. Into the hairpin. Trying to get a late apex. Not with oversteer. There's a bit of rear kick as we head down the back straight. We are literally just eating through this battery. It's insane. 340 kilometers an hour. That's a bit more like it in terms of top end. Through the chicane. Watch the exit, and now we're going to use the rest of our battery here. And there we go. You can just hear the engine flatline as we run out. So we're completely out of juice. We'll get a bit of recharge through turn 9 so we can try and push again. No, we're completely out. Completely out of juice. That's interesting. Okay. Luckily we don't need a lot of that in sector 3, so we won't suffer too much as a result, but this lap's still going to be significantly better than before. Final corner. Watch the exit, and now up to the line we go. It's going to be a 1 minute 29.4. So there we go. That's the time. That's respectable. Now, I want to test the X-Wings because I believe, or the active aero, because I think we can open it everywhere. So we're going to try another lap. We're probably going to go down on the boost and run maybe balance instead of push so that we have battery for the whole lap. And we're going to pair that with the active aero. Now, as you know, we had 15 litres of fuel in the car. Because these cars are a 50-50 split between combustion and hybrid, the fuel tanks are smaller, as I mentioned. So, according to this, 15 litres equates to about 14 laps. So it's almost like a litre a lap, which is pretty insane. So we can actually go down quite a bit on the fuel. We're going to go down to 5 litres, and that should be enough for a hot lap. We're going to keep everything else the same and just basically run the active aero everywhere. Now, we are on C5s. I wanted to run those as well because I want the extra grip. We don't seem to be overheating. I want to quickly showcase the active aeros. In the bottom right, look at the single dot. If I press it, it goes to 2. So, in terms of use, it's like the RS. We're toggling a button. But obviously, I think next year it's going to be an automated process, so it's going to be sorted out by the team. Either way, for this, we're toggling it manually. And we're basically going to use it everywhere. It's a bit like F1 2011. We're going to try and push as much as we can. We're going to go to balance, and we're going to try and see how this all kind of acts together. I've got the delta bar to hopefully get a bit of a reading on, the time increase. Through turn 1, decent grip. Active aero open. We close it just through here, just for the 2 corners, and then we're going to open it again. Down towards the hairpin. Braking. That's a nice late apex, very tidy. Open it already. Haven't got to wait for the DRS line. We can just open it from the get-go to try and gain more time. I think this delta is not based off my best time. We had some issues here the other day in terms of, valid laps. So it's maybe taking my first lap on the hard tyres. I could be wrong. Either way, opening active aero again before the old DRS zone, and we're going to use it again now out of turn 9. So you can see the battery's looking pretty good. Got plenty in the tank, so balance is a much better mode. There we go. Open again on The aero, you can see the purple sectors now. Because we have some battery left. We're quicker through here. Plus, of course, using that wing, so we're making a bit of a difference. Still using it. We're going to close it now through here. Open it again briefly. A little bit wide the last corner. Overall, though, pretty decent lap. Over the line we go. It's not an improvement, so interesting to read into that. So, we were in the push mode last time, running that very noticeable push mode on the battery, but it drained it super fast. So, that actually makes such a difference. We didn't have a single purple mini sector throughout the lap. Only at the end, which is where we ran out before, so we was able to recover some time, eventually going purple in sector 3. So it goes to show, at least with this mod and this car track combo, the battery and the use of the MOM, because the push mode basically represents MOM, is far more important than having active aero and wings or DRS available everywhere. Now for this test, the final test, I think, what we're going to do is manage that battery. So we're going to use the manual override mode, or the push mode in this mod, on the 2 back straights. Okay, so we can really improve. We'll use balanced everywhere else, and we'll of course run the active aero everywhere. So let's go again and try to improve. So active aero open to begin the lap. Down towards turn 1. A little bit bumpy into the first corner. All good though. Watch the exit. A little bit off active aero there in between turn 2 and turn 3. Open again on the exit. Now we prepare turn 5. Braking very late there. Right, up we go to push. Plus active aero. Look at that. Look at that delta. Just shoot up. That's unbelievable. We're going to gain multiple seconds here. There's the rev limit. Wow, what a difference, mate. That is unbelievable. And I still think that top speed's a bit low compared to what we're supposedly getting next year. But there we go. Back on push mode again. I opened the aero a little bit late onto the straight, but there it is. Away she goes. Back down to balanced. And now we've got a little bit left, so we can probably use a bit more here. Plus the active aero. Now we go down to balance. We're going to close the wings. And now just tackle this final sector. We've got enough battery to hopefully get this over the line. Back on the aero again. We're going to run out of deployment on the battery here, I think. Final corner, not as wide this time. Good exit, and now push to the line. Technically invalid, I believe, but there's a much better lap. 127.2. So overall, this is quite relevant because we literally did a couple of days ago my Can I Beat the Pole Lap series here in the VRC Formula Alpha 25 car. And of course we have Max's real time from qualifying. Now, Max did a 122.2. We did a 123.4, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the video. This car does a 127.2. So it's around 4 to 5 seconds slower. Now, this mod, compared to the Race Sim Studio 26 car, this feels very easy to drive. Very consistent, very smooth. Doesn't feel snappy to me. Feels like you could just drive this all day and not have any issues with it at all. The sound grew on me throughout the video, so it's a very interesting experience. So I'm keen to hear your thoughts. It's a free mod, so you guys can try it. I'm going to do a quick test though with the other 2 mods that I've used. So now for this, I'm not going to drive. We're going to do a little test, and I'm going to let the AI do what they do, okay? I feel like I want to get an understanding to see. Now for this one, I want to do a little test, and I'm going to let the AI do the driving. It's a 3-lap race in Abu Dhabi, same settings, but I'm going to watch and just see and analyse what happens here. Now for this one, we have all 3 cars that we've covered so far. We have the very first concept I covered over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. It's a very old concept and the kind of first version we had of this car, followed by the car we've just driven, the Formula Ultra. And then we have the RSS car at the front in the Audi livery of Nico Hulkenberg. So we have those 3. I'm at the back. I'm going to retire and spectate and see how they do. Right, here is the test. I'm on track. I don't actually retire. I'm just going to stay there, so you'll see me all 3 laps. But we go to the lights, and we're off. We'll analyse and see how each car does. I think it could be quite an interesting test. Off the line, the Formula Ultra flies off the line. Potentially could be the push mode that we, of course, saw a moment ago. So yeah, the Formula Ultra is getting on with it right away. Further back, we've got the first 2026 car, the beta version, the 0.5, which goes down the inside and actually passes a Formula Hybrid. So interestingly, now the Formula Hybrid is at the back. You can see the gaps are pretty significant. I've put all 3 cars on the C3 compound, so hopefully that'll perform. But look at the straight, by the way. The Formula Hybrid's getting completely destroyed, which is fairly interesting. So if we go to an onboard here, let's see what the straight line speed sounds like and looks like. Oh my god, look at that. So we just saw there, the Formula Ultra seems to have run out of battery like I did. So once you use your push mode, that's it. So now this car is clearly the quickest. Now when I drove this one had the least downforce by far. At least that's what I remember. It didn't feel particularly great in the corners, but it was the quickest one on the straights. And, you know, if next year's regulations are, you know, to be believed what the rumours are in terms of straight line speed, then this is probably the most accurate in terms of straight line speed so far. At the minute, Hulkenberg is not catching. The Formula Hybrid is not really there in terms of pace. So that's a genuine surprise. So on to lap 2. The battery recharges, I believe. So Formula Ultra should start to open things up again. But this car is right there on its tail again. I want to see the back straight. The back straight is going to be a massive, massive kind of confirmation of the suspicions I have. So it should drive past, and I mean that literally. Oh my days. Okay, I can see on the wheel 337 kilometers an hour for this car. So to be fair, it's the same top speed as the Formula Ultra. Obviously then this is where the AI have their issues because they don't use battery efficiently. Now from what I can tell, the Formula Ultra probably has burned all this battery out, so that might be the case for the Formula Hybrid as well. Whereas the first car, the FIE Sampler, must have a crazy, you know, recharge capacity. Now, these cars do have, I think, a max harvest or recharge limit of 8.5 megajoules or kilojoules. I always get them mixed up. So, whether this car, because it's a very old car, a very old mod, has that installed, I'm not too certain. But look, I don't even think we need the last lap. This car has smashed the field. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. That was a short test in which all 3 cars raced. Obviously, you can't really compare AI, so I might see if I can try and get some other people. We can do a server, maybe try and run all 3 cars on the same server as actual physical people rather than AI, because it's quite hard to get that test doing it myself. So yeah, overall, the Formula Ultra for a free mod, I really recommend it. I think if you have Assetto Corsa, guys, and you don't want to spend the money on mods, go for it. That is the one to go for the time being, and I think visually looks the most accurate, because I know Cubist Design spends a lot of time on like CFD 3D work to make sure the car is super accurate to what the real thing is going to be. So that car model is spot on. So yeah, I want to hear your thoughts, guys, in the comments down below. What do you think, and what do you realistically expect from these cars? Because the feedback has been mostly negative, let's be honest. So far, it hasn't been too great. So F1's in a very interesting spot right now. Either way, it's going to be a long off season, guys. There's going to be plenty more videos like this where we speculate, test, and try mods and compare things. So feel free to comment down below. What do you want to see regarding these mods? What could we do? What could we test and trial? I'm keen to hear what you guys think. But in the meantime, I'll leave a link down below, guys, to the Formula Ultra. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Check out the other 2 videos that I did with the other 2 cars as well to kind of get some more background and kind of understand more where we're at. So I'll leave those videos linked in the top right, as I mentioned before. In the meantime, guys, I'd appreciate a like, subscribe for more. As always, a massive shout out to my channel members. Check out the 2 videos on screen. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. And that's goodbye from me. Ciao, ciao.